My husband chose a party over my 40th birthday, so I made it all women. It felt like a slap in the face, and I was left reeling from the betrayal. Let me take you back to where it all began, before the hurt and the tears. Life, at that moment, was a whirlwind of change and chaos. We were on the brink of a major move across the country, uprooting our lives with 3 kids and a rather anxious dog, all to be closer to family. My husband, juggling his final days in an MBA program, was about to graduate, and I was on the cusp of turning 40. 40. It felt monumental, like a doorway into a new chapter. I had been dreaming of a grand celebration, a chance to mark this milestone with a burst of joy and the company of cherished friends. For my husband's 40th birthday the previous year, I'd orchestrated an unforgettable 5-day trip with our closest friends. I had poured my heart into every detail: hats, printouts, activities. It was a blast, and seeing his joy had been worth every ounce of effort. I wanted something similar for myself, to feel that same sense of celebration and love. But as life would have it, his graduation clashed directly with my plans, and there was nothing we could do about it. The rest of June was a tangled mess of commitments: our kids' school activities, a close friend's 40th, the impending cross-country move. The beach house I had hoped to use for the celebration was unavailable, tied up with my parents' plans. In January, I sat down with my husband. A conversation I remember vividly. "I know we have a lot going on," I told him, "but I don't want my birthday to become just another thing on the list." I had missed big milestone celebrations before. Pregnant on my 30th, in turning away from everyone I knew on my 21st. This time, I wanted it to be different. We agreed on a one-night staycation with friends on May 30th. It felt like a compromise, but one I was willing to make. He had school trips and family events demanding his attention, and I was neck-deep in the chaos of buying and selling houses. But still, I told my friends, even a dear one who planned to fly in for the occasion. Then, on a seemingly ordinary Monday, my husband mentioned it in passing, like it was nothing. He was going to a graduation party on May 30th. I felt the world tilt. My heart dropped. I couldn't believe he had forgotten, that he had chosen something else over the celebration we had painstakingly planned. "You're going to a party?" I asked, my voice barely steady, trying to mask the hurt that threatened to engulf me. He shrugged, as if it were the most reasonable thing in the world. "I've missed tons of events for you, but this is my 40th." He didn't seem to understand. He tried to convince me to change the date we had agreed upon, the one that worked for everyone else. When that wasn't feasible, he offered to leave the party early, but the damage was done. The fact that he prioritized another event over this milestone was a bitter pill to swallow. In that moment, I realized something had to change. I couldn't let my birthday be overshadowed by disappointment. My friends, my wonderful, supportive friends, had often gone on all-women weekends, and they always returned with stories of laughter and bonding. Perhaps that was the answer. So, with a heavy heart and tears that wouldn't stop, I made the decision. I told him, "I'll make it just women then." It felt empowering, yet tinged with sadness. I wasn't doing it out of spite, but out of self-preservation. I needed this to be about joy, not about compromise. When I shared my new plan with one of my best friends, she leapt into action, helping me book everything within an hour. It was like a balm to my wounded spirit, knowing I had that kind of support. But when my husband found out, he was furious. "You're being vindictive," he accused. "Selfish." I felt a pang of guilt, but tried to stand my ground. "I would never prioritize anything above your 40th," I replied, my voice trembling with emotion. "This is about making my day special." He didn't seem to see it that way. He reminded me that he'd never excluded me from his birthday plans, and perhaps that was true. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that this was different. My 40th was being overshadowed by everything else, and I needed to reclaim it. As the day approached, I felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. My incredible group of girlfriends, who were like sisters to me, rallied around, promising to make the celebration unforgettable. We planned an overnight stay, a chance to stay up late, laugh, and sleep in without the interruptions of motherhood. And when the day finally arrived, it was everything I hoped for and more. Surrounded by my friends, I felt a warmth and happiness that had been missing. We laughed until our sides ached, shared stories, and celebrated not just my birthday, but our friendship and the strength that came from standing by each other. Reflecting on it all, I realized this was about more than my birthday. It was about recognizing my own worth, about valuing myself enough to demand something special. And while the hurt lingered, I knew I had made the right choice. In the end, maybe I was the asshole for changing the plans, but I couldn't lose myself in the shuffle of life's chaos. My 40th was a reminder of that, a reminder that sometimes you have to choose yourself. As the days ticked down to the celebration, I found myself oscillating between excitement and a gnawing sense of unease. I was determined to make the most of this gathering, yet the shadow of my husband's anger lingered, casting a pall over what should have been a time of pure joy. Each time I recounted the details with my friends, our itinerary, the dinner, the late-night talks, I could feel a glimmer of anticipation. But in the quiet moments, when it was just me and my thoughts, doubt would creep in. Had I really been selfish, as he claimed? Was I being unfair to him, to our marriage? The questions haunted me, even as I tried to brush them off. In the end, it wasn't just about the party or the date. It was about what the whole situation represented. My 40th birthday was supposed to symbolize a milestone, not just in age, but in my journey as an individual. And yet, here I was, tangled in a web of conflict over something that should have been straightforward. On the eve of the gathering, I sat on our bed, surrounded by clothes strewn about, each piece a potential outfit for the evening. The house was unusually quiet, the kids already tucked in, their innocent slumber a stark contrast to the chaos in my mind. My husband was in his study, the door closed, a silent boundary we both respected. I wanted to reach out, to bridge the chasm that had grown between us over the past weeks. But how? How do you articulate a need for celebration, for acknowledgement, without sounding demanding or ungrateful? I picked up my phone, scrolling mindlessly through messages from friends who were equally excited about the party. Their enthusiasm was infectious, and for a moment I let myself bask in it. These were the women who had seen me through the highs and lows, who had cheered for my successes and held my hand through my struggles. They were as much a part of this celebration as I was, and I felt a surge of gratitude for their unwavering support. As I finally settled on an outfit, a simple yet elegant dress that made me feel both comfortable and confident, I heard a soft knock on the bedroom door. My husband stood there, a hesitant look in his eyes. For a brief moment we just stared at each other, the silence heavy with everything unspoken. I just wanted to say, "I hope you have a great time tomorrow," he said finally, his voice a mixture of sincerity and resignation. "Thank you," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. There was so much more I wanted to say, so much I wished he could understand without me having to explain. But words felt inadequate, and I feared opening a conversation that could lead to another argument. The next day, as I made my way to the venue, the air felt different, charged with a sense of possibility. The sky was a brilliant blue, the kind that promised good things. Arriving at the restaurant, I was greeted by a chorus of laughter and cheers from my friends, their energy lifting my spirits immediately. The evening unfolded in a blur of clinking glasses, shared jokes, and heartfelt toasts. We reveled in the freedom of the moment, unburdened by daily responsibilities, each of us savoring the rare opportunity to focus solely on ourselves and each other. In those hours, surrounded by the women who knew me best, I felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. It was a celebration not just of my 40th, but of our collective journey. Through motherhood, career changes, personal growth, we were each other's witnesses, and that made the occasion all the more meaningful. As the night wore on, we found ourselves lounging on the plush couches of our rented space, the remnants of our dinner scattered around us. Someone suggested we play a game, one of those icebreaker activities that spark laughter and stories. We were soon lost in a sea of memories, each tale more ridiculous than the last, our laughter echoing into the early hours. In those moments, I realized I was exactly where I needed to be. It wasn't about the absence of my husband or the potential awkwardness of our unresolved issues. It was about honoring this chapter of my life, about embracing the love and support that surrounded me. It was about choosing joy even amidst uncertainty. Later, as I lay in bed, the echoes of the evening still resonating in my mind, I allowed myself to let go of the guilt, the doubt. I had made a choice that felt right for me, and that was enough. The future would unfold in its own time, and whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew I had the strength and the support to face them. In the end, perhaps I wasn't the asshole at all. Perhaps this was simply a lesson in understanding my own needs, in recognizing that sometimes prioritizing oneself isn't an act of selfishness, but of self-care. And as I drifted off to sleep, I felt a sense of peace, knowing that this milestone had been celebrated in the best way possible, with love, laughter, and the unwavering bond of friendship. The morning after my birthday celebration, I awoke with a sense of calm that had eluded me in the preceding weeks. The sun gently filtered through the curtains, casting warm patterns across the room, and I lay there for a moment, savoring the tranquility. The laughter and camaraderie of the previous night lingered in my mind, a comforting reminder of the joy that had filled the hours. As I slowly got out of bed, I felt an unexpected lightness in my step. The burden of the conflict with my husband, though not entirely forgotten, seemed more manageable in the new light of day. I realized that the previous night had been a turning point, a necessary reminder that my needs and desires were valid. It was a celebration of my life, my friendships, and the milestones that had shaped me. Over breakfast, I replayed the highlights of the evening in my mind, the moments of shared laughter, the heartfelt toasts from my friends, each one a testament to our enduring bond. It was these connections that had truly made the night special, more so than any grand gesture or extravagant party could have. Yet, as much as I cherished the memory of my birthday, I knew I couldn't ignore the unresolved tension with my husband. It was a conversation that had to happen, one that I had been avoiding out of fear of further conflict. But now, with the glow of last night's celebration still warming my heart, I felt ready to face it. Later in the day, as the kids played outside, I found my husband in the kitchen, casually flipping through the newspaper. I hesitated for a moment, gathering my thoughts before speaking. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that this was as much about understanding as it was about resolution. "Can we talk?" I asked, my voice steady yet gentle. He looked up, his expression a mix of curiosity and apprehension. He nodded, setting the newspaper aside. "Of course." I joined him at the table, feeling a slight flutter of anxiety. "About last night," I began, choosing my words carefully. "I just want you to know that it wasn't about excluding you or punishing you. It was about celebrating with the people who could be there, who could share that moment with me." He listened, his expression softening as I spoke. "I know," he replied after a pause, "and I'm sorry if I made you feel like you had to choose. I guess I didn't realize how much this meant to you." There it was, the acknowledgement I hadn't dared to hope for. It was a small step, but it felt significant. I reached for his hand, grateful for the opportunity to bridge the gap that had formed between us. "I think we both got caught up in everything else," I admitted. "The move, your graduation, the kids. It's easy to lose sight of what's important." He nodded, squeezing my hand. I should have been more considerate. I don't want you to feel like your milestones don't matter. We sat there for a while, the silence comfortable, the tension having dissipated. It wasn't a perfect resolution, but it was a start. A reminder that relationships, like anything else, require effort and understanding. As the day unfolded, I found myself reflecting on the lessons of the past few weeks, the importance of communication, the value of self-care, and the strength found in true friendships, each one a vital component in navigating the complexities of life and love. In the end, my 40th birthday had been more than just a celebration of age. It had been a catalyst for growth, a reminder to cherish the connections that enrich our lives and to honor our own needs without guilt or apology. And as I looked ahead to the future, with all its uncertainties and promises, I felt ready to embrace it all, one day at a time, with an open heart and a resilient spirit. The days following the conversation with my husband passed with an unexpected ease, as if the weight of unspoken words had finally lifted. Our lives continued to whirl around us, the kids with their boundless energy, the upcoming move looming on the horizon, and the steady cadence of our daily responsibilities. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was a newfound clarity, a sense of mutual understanding that hadn't been there before. One afternoon, as I stood in the living room surrounded by half-packed boxes and the faint scent of packing tape, I found myself reflecting on the journey that had brought me to this point. Turning 40 had been a milestone I had once dreaded, a marker of time that seemed to demand reflection and reckoning. But now, it felt like a new beginning, an opportunity to redefine priorities and strengthen connections. I thought about the friends who had rallied around me, who had dropped everything to make my birthday special. Their unwavering support had been a reminder of the power of community, of the importance of nurturing relationships that uplift and sustain. As I pictured their smiling faces, I felt a deep sense of gratitude, knowing that they would remain a steady presence in my life, no matter where the years took us. My thoughts drifted back to my husband, to the quiet moments we had shared since our conversation. There was still work to be done, bridges to be rebuilt, but we were on the right path. His acknowledgement of my feelings had been a turning point, a reminder that even amidst misunderstandings, there was room for growth and reconciliation. Later that evening, as we sat together on the couch, the soft glow of the television flickering in the background, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. It was these quiet moments, the simple acts of connection, that truly defined our relationship. I reached out, resting my head on his shoulder, and he wrapped an arm around me, pulling me closer. "I'm glad we talked," I murmured, feeling the warmth of his presence. "Me too," he replied, his voice low and sincere. "I promise, from now on, we'll make sure to celebrate the big and small moments together." His words held a promise, one that I knew we both intended to keep. It was a commitment to being more present, more attuned to each other's needs, even when life threatened to overwhelm us. As the night wore on and we talked about our plans for the future, from the logistics of the move to dreams and aspirations we hadn't yet voiced, I felt a renewed sense of hope. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges we couldn't yet foresee, but it was also rich with possibility. In the days that followed, as we packed up our lives and prepared for the next chapter, I carried with me the lessons of my 40th birthday. It had been a celebration not just of age, but of resilience, of the strength found in vulnerability and the beauty of authentic connections. And as we set out on our journey, leaving behind the familiar to embrace the unknown, I felt ready to face whatever came our way. With my family by my side, lifelong friends cheering me on, and a heart open to the adventure. I knew that this was just the beginning, a promise of new beginnings, wrapped in the wisdom of the past. Subscribe for more stories.